The door slammed open. Every head in the hall turned at once. The music faltered, conversations died mid-sentence. Even the bride, Amara, froze where she stood, bouquet trembling slightly in her hands. Because standing at the entrance was her best friend. And she was wearing white. Not cream, not champagne, not anything subtle. White. The same shade, the same elegance, the same intention. A ripple of whispers spread through the room like wildfire. Amara's heart dropped, but her face didn't move. She just stared. Amara had known Kioma for over 15 years. They met as teenagers, shared secrets, heartbreaks, dreams. Kioma had been there through everything: late-night calls, failed relationships, family struggles. When Amara got engaged, Kioma cried harder than anyone. "You deserve this happiness," she had said. And Amara believed her. She made her maid of honor without hesitation. Trusted her with everything, her dress fittings, her plans, even her fears. So when Kioma said, "Don't worry, I've got you," Amara never questioned it. Not once. But now, standing at the altar, Amara felt something crack inside her. Kioma didn't look apologetic. She didn't look embarrassed. She walked in confidently, head high, lips slightly curved like she was enjoying the attention. The murmurs grew louder. "Is that not white? Why would she do that? Isn't she the best friend?" Amara forced a small smile, though her chest tightened. Maybe there was a mistake. Maybe the lighting made it look worse. Maybe. But then Kioma walked closer. And there was no doubt anymore. It was deliberate. Their eyes met. For a second, Amara searched for something, regret, explanation, anything. But Kioma only smiled. A slow, unreadable smile. And that was when it hit her. This wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. Amara turned slightly toward her fiancé, Tund. "Do you see this?" she whispered under her breath. Tund hesitated. "Too long. I mean, maybe she didn't think," he started. Amara blinked. Didn't think. Kioma of all people. The same Kioma who helped pick her wedding dress. The same Kioma who knew exactly how important this day was. Amara's stomach twisted. Something wasn't adding up. Suddenly, memories began flashing through her mind. Moments she had brushed aside before. Kioma laughing a little too much at Tun's jokes. Late-night calls that ended abruptly when Amara walked in. That one time she found them talking quietly in the kitchen, and they both went silent when she entered. At the time, she told herself she was overthinking. But now it felt different. Now it felt real. The officiant cleared his throat awkwardly, trying to regain control. "Shall we continue?" he asked. Amara nodded slowly. Her voice didn't trust itself. The ceremony resumed. But nothing felt right anymore. She couldn't focus on the vows. Couldn't hear the words. Because her eyes kept drifting. Back to Kioma. And every time she looked, Kioma was already watching her. Guests weren't even hiding it anymore. Phones were subtly raised. Eyes darted between the bride and the woman in white. Amara could feel it, the shift. Her moment was no longer hers. It was becoming something else. Something uncomfortable. Something humiliating. "Stay calm," she told herself. "Don't let this ruin everything." She had planned this day for months. Her family was here. His family was here. Everything was already in motion. She couldn't just... No, she had to finish this. She had to. But then something happened that made her heart skip. During a pause, Tund leaned slightly toward Kioma. Just for a second. Too subtle for most people to notice. But Amara saw it. And Kioma leaned in too. Their exchange was quick, barely a whisper. But it was enough. Amara's fingers tightened around her bouquet. That was it. That was the moment everything shifted. Because now it wasn't just about the dress. It wasn't just about attention. It was about something deeper. Something darker. Something that had been happening right under her nose. Her mind started racing. How long? What else do I know? Why does he look nervous? Tund avoided her eyes. And that hurt more than anything. The officiant spoke. The guests listened. The music played softly in the background. But Amara wasn't there anymore. Not fully. Her body stood at the altar. But her mind was unraveling. Piece by piece. As the officiant asked the next question, "Do you take this man?" Amara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked straight at Kioma, then at Tund. And for the first time, she wasn't confused. She was suspicious. The moment she answered, "Do you take this man?" Silence. The officiant paused. The guests leaned forward. And Amara still said nothing. Her chest rose slowly, her grip on the bouquet tightening until her knuckles turned pale. She wasn't looking at the officiant anymore. She was looking at Tund. Tund forced a small smile. "Amara," he whispered, barely moving his lips, "say yes." But his voice lacked confidence. It wasn't reassuring. It was nervous. Almost desperate. And that scared her more than anything. Amara swallowed. Her voice came out quieter than she expected. "Why are you nervous?" The question hung in the air. Too direct. Too sudden. Tund blinked. "What?" "You heard me," she said louder this time. "Why are you nervous?" A murmur swept across the crowd. This wasn't part of the script. The officiant shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should continue." "No," Amara said firmly. Her voice had changed now. It was no longer soft. It was steady, sharp, and impossible to ignore. She turned fully toward Tund. "Answer me." Tund glanced briefly at the crowd, then back at her. "I'm not nervous," he said quickly. "It's just the pressure, that's all." But Amara didn't respond. She just stared. Because she knew him. And this wasn't pressure. This was guilt. "Amara, you're overreacting." The voice came from behind. Kioma. Calm, smooth, controlled. Amara turned slowly. Their eyes locked again. "You should focus on your moment," Kioma continued, stepping slightly forward. "Don't let small things ruin it." "Small things." Amara almost laughed. "Small things," Amara repeated. Her voice carried now, clear enough for everyone to hear. "You show up to my wedding in white, and you call that small." A few guests gasped softly. Kioma shrugged lightly. "It's just a dress." That response hit harder than the act itself. No apology. No shame. Just dismissal. Amara felt heat rise in her chest. "Just a dress," she echoed. "Yes," Kioma said, tilting her head slightly. "You're the bride, everyone knows that. Why are you so threatened?" Threatened. That word echoed loudly in Amara's mind. Amara took a slow step closer. "I'm not threatened," she said quietly. "Then why are you making a scene?" Kioma replied instantly. The confidence in her voice. It was unsettling. Too bold. Too comfortable. Amara turned back to Tund. "Say something," she said. He hesitated again. That same hesitation. That same silence. And this time, it confirmed everything. Amara's voice dropped. "Why are you defending her without saying it?" Tund frowned. "What are you talking about?" She stepped back slightly, shaking her head. No, this doesn't make sense." But deep down, It was starting to. A moment flashed in her mind. 2 weeks ago. She had called Tund late at night. No answer. Later he said he fell asleep. But in the background of that call, she had heard a voice. A familiar voice. She ignored it then. But now she couldn't. Amara looked straight at Kioma. Have you been talking to him behind my back? The room froze. Complete silence. Even the air felt heavy. Kioma didn't deny it immediately. Instead, she smiled. A slow, knowing smile. What if I have? Gasps broke out across the hall. Amara's heart dropped. She turned to Tund again. Is that true? This time, there was no quick answer. No excuse. No denials. Just silence. And that silence was louder than anything he could have said. Amara felt her chest tighten. Her voice trembled slightly. How long? Tund ran a hand through his hair. It's not what you think. How long? She repeated louder. Kioma crossed her arms casually. Does it matter? She said. That was it. That was the moment everything shattered. Because in that second, Amara realized something painful. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was something that had been growing. Right beside her. Behind her. With the two people she trusted most. Her sadness didn't last long. It turned into something else. Something stronger. Anger. You both stood here, she said, her voice rising, knowing this and still let this wedding continue. No one spoke. Not even Kioma. The guests were no longer whispering. They were watching. Fully invested. Phones were no longer subtle. Everything was being recorded. But Amara didn't care anymore. She looked at Tund one last time. Were you ever going to tell me? Tund opened his mouth, then closed it again. And that was the answer. Amara took a slow step back. Her breathing steadied. Her expression changed. The confusion was gone. The hurt was still there. But something else had taken over. Clarity. She looked at the crowd. Then at the altar. Then back at the two people who had just broken her trust. And for the first time since the ceremony began, she knew exactly what she was about to do. No one moved. No one spoke. The hall, once filled with music and celebration, now felt heavy, suffocating. All eyes were on Amara. Waiting. Watching. Expecting her to break. To cry. To beg. To still go through with it. Pensive face. But she didn't break. Amara exhaled slowly. Then she laughed. Soft at first. Then a little louder. Not out of joy. But disbelief. Wow, she said under her breath. She shook her head slightly, as if trying to wake herself up from a nightmare. But this was real. When she looked up again, something had changed. Her eyes were no longer filled with confusion. Or even pains. They were clear. Focused. Steady. And that shift made everyone uneasy. Without saying a word, Amara walked past Tund.
Before we continue,
the
there is
efficient,
something I must say.
Straight toward the microphone. The slight echo of her heels against the floor filled the silence. Each step deliberate. Each step final. Kioma's confident expression flickered for the first time. Tund shifted uncomfortably. Amara, what are you doing? He asked quietly. But she didn't respond. She reached the microphone. Adjusted it. And faced the crowd. Thank you all for coming. Her voice was calm. Too calm. And that made it even more powerful. A few guests exchanged glances. They didn't expect this. I know today was supposed to be a celebration, she continued. A day filled with love, trust, and happiness. She paused. Her eyes briefly flickered toward Tund. Then Kioma. But clearly, I was the only one who believed that. A ripple moved through the audience. Amara took a breath, then said it. Because standing here today, I've realized something. She gestured slightly behind her. My fiancé and my best friend. Her voice didn't shake. Have been betraying me. Gasps erupted. Louder this time. No more whispers. This was out in the open now. Tund stepped forward quickly. Amara, don't do this. She raised her hand. And he stopped. Just like that. No, she said firmly. You've said enough already through your silence. The words hit hard. Direct. Unavoidable. I trusted you, she continued, her voice slightly softer now, but still strong. I trusted both of you. Her eyes locked onto Kioma. You stood beside me while I planned this wedding. You helped me choose my dress. You smiled in my face. Her voice tightened for just a second. While going behind my back. Kioma looked away. For the first time. Amara straightened her shoulders. But you know what hurts the most? She paused. Not for effect. But to steady herself. It's not even what you did. It's the fact that you thought I would stay quiet about it. That line landed. Heavy. She turned slightly, looking at the decorated hall. The flowers, the chairs, the aisle she had walked down minutes ago. Then back to the crowd. So let me make this very clear. A deep breath. I will not marry a man I cannot trust. A sharp intake of breath spread across the room. And I will not stand here and pretend everything is fine, just to save face. Her voice rose slightly now. Not shouting, but powerful, unshakable. So no. She shook her head slowly. This wedding is not happening. Silence. Pure silence. Then, Tund stepped forward again. Amara, please, we can talk about this. She turned to him. And this time, her eyes held nothing. No love. No softness. Just finality. There's nothing left to talk about. Amara, you're overreacting, Kioma said quickly, trying to regain control. It's not what it looks like. Amara let out a short, bitter laugh. Not what it looks like. She stepped closer. Then what does it look like, Kioma? Kioma hesitated. And that hesitation said everything. Amara stepped back again. Back to the microphone. I deserve better than this. Her voice was softer now, but stronger than ever. I deserve honesty. I deserve loyalty. And most importantly, she placed a hand lightly on her chest. I deserve peace. She gently placed the microphone back. The small sound echoed louder than expected. Then she turned, picked up the front of her dress slightly, and started walking. No one moved. No one dared. Not even Tund. Not even Kioma. Because they all knew. This wasn't a moment they could fix. The doors closed behind her. And just like that, it was over. The noise, the whispers, the betrayal, all of it stayed inside. Amara stepped outside into the open air, her chest rising sharply as if she had been holding her breath for hours. For a moment she just stood there, still, silent, letting it sink in. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked down at her dress. The dress she had dreamed about, planned for, imagined walking down the aisle in with pride and joy. Now, it felt heavy. Not because of the fabric, but because of what it represented. A moment that was supposed to be perfect turned into a painful truth. Her eyes filled with tears. They gathered slowly, threatening to fall. But she blinked them back. Not today. She had cried enough in her life over things that didn't deserve her tears. And she wasn't about to start now. Outside it was quiet. No whispers. No judging eyes. No tension. Just a space. And for the first time that day, Amara felt something unexpected. Relief. She let out a long breath. I almost married into a lies. The thought settled deeply. If she hadn't spoken up, if she had ignored that feeling, if she had said yes just to avoid embarrassment, her entire life could have been built on deception. And that realization, it didn't break her. It strengthened her. Back inside, chaos had taken over. Guests were talking all at once. Some shocked, some sympathetic, some recording everything they had just witnessed. Tund stood frozen near the altar, his mind racing, his perfect image shattered. He looked toward the door Amara had just walked through. Amara, he muttered. But she was gone. And for the first time, he realized something he hadn't before. He had lost her. Not because of a mistake, but because of a choice. Kioma, on the other hand, was no longer composed. The confidence she carried earlier had completely disappeared. What just happened? She snapped more to herself than anyone else. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She thought she had control. She thought she could walk in, shake things up and still walk away unaffected. But she was wrong. Because now, everyone was looking at her differently. Not with admiration. Not with curiosity. But with judgment. And that hit harder than she expected. Amara began walking. No destination in mind. Just moving. Each step lighter than the last. Her heels clicked softly against the ground, but her mind was quiet. Clear. She replayed everything in her head. The signs, the moments, the truth. And instead of feeling regret, she felt proud. Proud that she didn't ignore herself. Proud that she didn't stay silent. Proud that she chose her dignity over appearances. Losing them isn't the loss. She whispered to herself. Losing myself would have been. And that was the difference. Warning. A message for anyone watching. Not every ending is a failure. Some endings are necessary. Some endings save you. Even when they hurt. Even when they're public. Even when they're messy. Bell. Call to action CTA. If this story moved you, if you believe in choosing yourself no matter how hard it is, backhand index pointing right, don't forget to like this video. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe for more powerful real-life inspired stories. Backhand index pointing right and comment below. I choose myself if you would have walked away too.